ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. The Karnataka State Bar Council and its Law Academy has arranged this meeting to offer Shrandanjali to one of the greatest judges this country has ever seen, Justice Ramesh Chandra Lahoti, 1st 11/1940 to 23 March 2022. The Sharanas of 12th century in Karnataka described death as Maranave Mahanavami. That is, the death is the ultimate celebration of life of a human being. The life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, which Justice R.C. Lahoti has practiced, is memorable. And we would like to hear from the persons who were closely associated with the noble soul today. See, at the outset, I request Shri K.K. Lahoti to the seminar. Before that, I hereby welcome Shri Motakpalli Kashinath sir, the Chairman Karnataka State Bar Council, Shri Gautam Chand, Member Karnataka State Bar Council, Shri Vishal Raghu, Member and Trustee Karnataka State Bar Council, Shri Kivad Kalmeshwar Tukaram, Trustee and Member Karnataka State Bar Council, Shri S.S. Mittalkode, Member and Trustee Karnataka State Bar Council, and also to Mr. B.R. Chandramoli, Vice Chairman Karnataka State Bar Council. I request Shri K.K. Lahoti sir to offer Shrandanjali to Justice R.C. Lahoti. Only one second, sir. I'll unmute, sir. Kindly unmute yourself, sir.
Mr. President and the members of Karnataka State Bar Council and Karnataka State Bar Law Academy, Mr. Raghavan, the senior advocate, Mr. Shresh Jasimha, advocate, High Court of Karnataka, and other honorable members of the Bar of Karnataka at Karnataka and also at Delhi. Today, I've been assigned the task to very difficult task of giving Shrandanjali to my revered brother, with whom I had started my practice since 1974 and worked with him for a long period when he was an advocate of district court. Thereafter, he was elevated in the year 1988 to the High Court of Madhya Pradesh, and I also joined High Court in that year. Today, when you are in the state of sorrow and mourning, I am feeling a little difficulty to pay my homage to my brother who has just passed on 23rd, and we have cremated him yesterday, and today's in the morning we the family members collected the ashes. At present I may not express fully as I am in the deep sorrow, but as it was the command of the Karnataka State Bar Council and Karnataka State Bar Council, I have to obey, and in your command, I am before you. Justice Lahoti, as you know well, he was a perfect judge. I have seen him very closely, and it was my luck, good luck, that I had an opportunity to work with him as an advocate. He started my practice when he was only a lawyer in the district court. But I have seen him very closely. Since very beginning, when he joined bar in the year 1960, he was very punctual towards time, towards his work, and very sincere to the clients. Even to the court, he was always very humble. I have never seen him fighting with the judge, even the civil judge class 2 or the district judge or before to the high court judge. He always persuaded his case and convinced to the court for the case of the client. He was never subjective and was always objective when he was arguing his case. His preparation was always thorough. He was well versed with the facts of the case and also law. And he had always tried his level best to pursue the court for the client and present the case of the client to the court. He never expected that the verdict should go in his favor or in the favor of his client. He was of the opinion that our job is completed when you have presented the case to the court as per our wisdom and knowledge. And it is now after presentation of the case, it is now the work of the judge to decide the case impartially. We should not be very subjective towards the case, and if we never remain subjective to the case, we will always feel happy when the verdict comes. I have also seen him when he started practice. He was rising 4 a.m. in the morning, preparing the briefs, thereafter meeting with the clients and reaching to the court 5 minutes before 11 o'clock in the district court when the work was starting at 11 o'clock. He was very punctual to the court, and we have never seen him that he ever sought any adjustment from the court in respect of time. Even before the High Court, he was very humble while presenting his case. His certain qualities are to be noticed at this juncture. As I have already stated, that he was very humble, very kind, and very dedicated to the clients and his work. Work was worship to him, and he never thought how much fees he had received in the case. Once he had accepted the brief, he never thought of his fees, in spite of the fact that whether the fees has come or not. If the case is listed before the court, he has argued the case fully, never sought an adjournment on the ground that fees was not received. His behavior with the family was also very cordial. Whether he is younger member or elder member, his son or daughter, he never treated any of the family members with high voice. He was very affectionate to the family. He was of the view that if we are in family, we should maintain harmony in the family and always do for the best of our family. He during his life, he never expected anything from any member of the family or relations. Even in the bar, when he was the chief guest, you may be knowing that he was insisting not to give any costly mementos. Even at some time, when he was asked what memento we should give, he said with very humbleness, he said, I don't require any memento. And if you are intending to give me some memento, please give me some good book of your choice, so that I can increase my knowledge. He was very fond of reading of the books. In the morning, always he was reading general books for half an hour to 1 hour and improving his knowledge. He was having loved to read Hindi and English books of literature, not the novels. He was having very big library with him, and he has always inspired our entire family to read the books which are the source of knowledge. His only wish was to learn Sanskrit, which he could not. He always quoted that I could have learned Sanskrit or speak in Sanskrit, then I could have been more better person, which I am. It was his wish which he could not complete during his lifetime. But he was well versed with Hindi, English, Urdu, Marathi, and Gujarati. 5 languages was even having with full command. But Sanskrit was his dream which he could not complete. About his knowledge, he was having vast knowledge of Gita and all the religious books. He was having knowledge of other religions also and well versed with all the religions. And he had always improved his knowledge by reading lot of books on religion, literature. I remember just 1 month back, he gave me one book of Paramahansa Yogananda, though it is in Hindi, but he gave me and I said that it is an excellent book and you should read. I have started reading. I put complete reading of this book near about 30 pages and I found that this is the book which gives lot of knowledge about our ancient culture and literature. This book is also available in English also, but as I am well versed more, I like more in Hindi, so he has chosen to give me this book in Hindi. When he was presenting me any book, he was giving a note of brief what is in the book, and he was always gifting the book after going through or reading fully the book and giving 1 page note of the gist of the book, that so that I may develop interest and I should read the book with the same object for which he had read the book. These are the small my knowledge towards him, but every person who had met with him was impressed with his behavior, humbleness and kindness. He was very kind to the juniors. He always asked me to favor juniors, never scold any junior if he is not prepared. Give him an opportunity to prepare the case if he has not prepared the case. His thought was that if we didn't encourage the juniors, then how he will become a good lawyer. We should always encourage juniors. He was having very sympathetic view about the juniors or the persons who are the newcomer in the bar. I can only say on this occasion that as a member of bar, you should always be very kind to your client. Do full justice with the client, in spite of the fact whether you have been paid adequately or not, as he had done. And if we pursue his thoughts, then we can learn a lot. You may have read his judgment in Ames Students Union versus Ames. It is reported in 2002, where in para 58 he had quoted, "Every citizen of India is fundamentally obliged to develop a scientific temper and humanism. He is fundamentally duty-bound to strive towards excellence in all spheres of individual and collectively activity, so that the nation constantly rise to higher levels of endeavor and achievements." These words are golden words, which he has expressed in this judgment. If we have to achieve the excellence, we have to work very hard, as he has done. Even before signing the judgment, though it was already corrected, he was always reading the judgment finally before before signing the judgment, because after signing the judgment, he could not correct it as he could have corrected before signing. So he was always of the view that excellence can be achieved, but by hard work and labor. Even his devotion to the profession was that on 23rd, when he has suffered severe heart, uh, um, I can say that it was the cardiac arrest. He was ready to for an arbitration which was going on and was at the final stage. My son Divyakant has prepared the entire iPad for his attending the meeting, but after starting the meeting, within 1 or 2 minutes, he has suffered cardiac arrest and could not complete the meeting. When at the time when he was attending the meeting, he was on oxygen and in ICU of Apollo Hospital. This was his dedication to the work, to the profession, and he has given a message that we should work very hard, even in the circumstances which are not favorable to us, but we should, if we are devoted to the work, then it is the true, our discharge of the duties towards the profession. In these words, I express my condolence to my brother, to whom I am missing a lot. Thank you. I am also thankful to the Bar, Karnataka Bar and Karnataka State Bar Council for inviting me to express my few words on this occasion. Thank you very much.
The entire legal fraternity of Karnataka, of 115,000 lawyers, all the members of the Karnataka State Bar Council and the office bearers are with you, sir, at this moment of sorrow for having lost one of the best human being. I request Mr. K.G. Raghavan, Senior Advocate, High Court of Karnataka, to offer Shrandanjali to Justice R.C. Lahoti.
Thank you, Mr. Basavaraj, for being so kind enough as to give me this opportunity to pay my humble homage to that great person, Justice R.C. Lahoti. My association with Justice R.C. Lahoti has been checkered. I have known him professionally in the sense that I have appeared before him when he was a judge of the Supreme Court. I have known him after he demitted office as Chief Justice of India, and after that demission of office, my association with him became closer. I have associated with him professionally in the sense that I have conducted a number of arbitrations before Justice R.C. Lahoti. More importantly, what I cherish is the attachment and love that he developed for me outside of the legal work or the legal forum. Whenever we had an opportunity of meeting, we would spend more time discussing matters other than law, more importantly, philosophical thoughts, and he would encourage me to read so many of religious literature that he thought would make me a good human being. In fact, Justice Lahoti was to me an inspiration to read many of the great literary works of our saints and seers. And if today I have acquired a little bit of knowledge in that area, I owe it all to Justice R.C. Lahoti, who encouraged me so much. In fact, I had the occasion of inviting him for several of the seminars that we have organized at the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan at Bangalore, with which organization I am very closely connected. When I called him in Delhi to deliver the inaugural address at one of our very important seminars on the message of the Upanishads, Justice Lahoti told me that on that particular day, he had committed himself to some arbitrations, but that he would take it as a divine command that he should come and speak on the message of the Upanishads. And he promptly came from Delhi, delivered the inaugural address, which was a remarkable piece of literature. And I'm unable to lay my hands immediately on his published speech, because all the speeches of Justice Lahoti at the Bhavan have been published. I'm not able to lay my hands and show it to the audience today because of the short notice that I had, but I shall make it a point to present before the audience the wonderful lecture that Justice Lahoti delivered on the message of the Upanishads. In fact, I have a number of letters that Justice Lahoti has written to me on various subjects. When we met at any arbitration during lunch, our discussion would be on philosophical thoughts and religious literature. And when he went back, he would write to me and say, I mentioned to you the other day about this particular book, and this is the details of the book. Get it and read it. And in fact, once when we were discussing, I remember very vividly, we were talking about the book written by Bal Gangadhar Tilak, 2 volumes on the Bhagavad Gita, namely Gita Rahasya. That's the title of the book. Justice Lahoti said, look, I've been searching for that book. I have not been able to get it. Can you help me? I told him, sir, I have that book in my library because my father had that book in his library, and I shall be glad to lend it to you. He was so concerned. He said, Mr. Raghavan, if that book is a treasure in your father's library, would you trust me with that book? I said, yes, I will trust you, sir, because I know how much value you attach to these type of literary books. And I gave it to him. And believe it or not, he took it with him to Delhi. That book was in English. It is a translation of the work of Bal Gangadhar Tilak. He, after 15 days, had it neatly packed and couriered back to me. Not only did he do it, he also located a Hindi translation of the same work. And he told me that he could not locate it himself. And he had asked his son, who, if my recollection is right, who is in the United States, to locate that book. And that was a publication of the Gita Press in Hindi. And he sent me those 2 volumes also. And he wrote a beautiful note for me saying, I know how much you treasure these books. This is an addition to your library. That was the type of affection he had for me. And I miss him a lot. I have had very close interaction with him. He has addressed so many nice letters to me. And I do not have words to express my sorrow at the passing away of an elder member of my family who I looked up to for inspiration. In fact, I would call him whenever I had any doubt, not on a question of law. Whenever I had a doubt with respect to any aspect of my life as to whether I should do a particular thing or not do a particular thing, I would call Justice Lahoti and he would give me advice as to what's the right thing to do. I placed him in the position of my father, and I always looked up to him to guide me, and which he did. And I feel extremely sorry that I will not have the benefit of that advice anymore. With these few words, I express my respected Shrandanjali to Justice R.C. Lahoti. And I have known his nephew Divyakant also. We had occasion to work together in some matters, and it was sheer pleasure the way Justice Lahoti dealt with all of us. I offer my heartfelt condolences to the family, and all that I can say is that this is a loss which cannot be replenished. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity of paying my humble homage to Justice Lahoti, who, as I said earlier, I regard as my father, as I would regard my father in his place. Thank you.
I request my friend Sri Shreya Jayasimha to offer Shrandanjali to Justice R.C. Lahoti.
Suraj, for the opportunity. Sincere condolences to Justice K.K. Lahoti and the entire family. And with pranam to
Add up the volume, sir. Shreyas, you have to speak loudly or...
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Suraj, for the opportunity. Respected Justice K.K. Lahoti, sincere condolences to the entire family. The passing of Justice R.C. Lahoti, and pranam to my seniors, including Mr. Raghavan and many other seniors. My biggest regret this week is that I'm not able to sit with Justice Lahoti in perhaps what was one of his last acceptances to sit as a presiding arbitrator in a matter in which I had requested him when I had been appointed arbitrator by one party to please accept the position of presiding arbitrator. And the correspondence, which is my most recent correspondence with him, encapsulates all the qualities that you have heard espoused from Justice K.K. Lahoti and Mr. Raghavan. This is not theory and practice being divorced, but a full synthesis, a full practice of the most lofty and noble principles that we all have been in different sampradayas, in different faiths, been taught by our various elders. Justice Lahoti, as a former Chief Justice of India, had this to say. My singular consideration, he said, for not denying your proposal is that I would not like to miss the opportunity of spending some time with you. Let it be in an arbitral hearing only. This is the kind of fondness that he has expressed to one and all. It is not a unique gift that Mr. Raghavan and I have received, because it is the very nature of Justice Lahoti to have spread this visceral love to all those who came in his midst. He then went on to, of course, I must take this occasion to note the parallels of the departure of Justice Lahoti from this world and that of my father, late Justice R. Jayasimha Babu, also passing on in the midst of an arbitral hearing, in harness, while conducting the proceedings. And the two of them were very, very good friends. My father, Justice R. J. Babu, and Justice Lahoti. And in that capacity, I have met him many, many times. And at all such instances, he would, as Mr. Raghavan said, always pull one aside and offer a tip or two for further reading and self-development. And it is apposite that I read what he had to share just a few days ago on this topic. He said, it is difficult for me to express in words what respect and regards I have for your late father. That is the respect of my father. With his eternal departure, the world has gone poorer is not an exaggeration. And these words that he has expressed are several-fold applicable and need to be said by me today in respect of Justice R.C. Lahoti himself. Coming to the various cases that he has dealt with, the approach of Justice Lahoti in his decisions, one can see, is to take a magisterial survey of the applicable law. So to any lawyer, reading a Justice Lahoti decision was coming up to speed with what the current state of the play and law was at that point entirely. Something like the practice in the American courts of having a summary of the position of law being stated. This is not to be found in every judge's decision of the Honorable Supreme Court of India as well. Apart from the Ames case that Justice K.K. Lahoti has cited, a couple of other cases and his observations in, for example, Ramesh Chand's Advaita versus Anil Panjwani, AR 2003 SC 2508, he had this to say in relation to contempt of court and the degree of restraint that the court should exercise, that the dignity of the ocean lies not in its fury capable of causing destruction, but in its vast expanse and depth with enormous tolerance. This is in relation to the various comments, scurrilous comments made by parties from the court. In P. Ramchandra Rao versus State of Karnataka, 2002, 4 SEC 578, in relation to speedy trial, Justice Lahoti had declared that the courts can declare the law, they can interpret the law, they can remove the obvious lacunae and fill the gaps, but they cannot entrench upon the field of legislation properly made for the legislature. And had then gone on to emphasize the importance of speedy trials as well. I want to just end by referring to a correspondence between two other very great souls the world has seen, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi, and Leo Tolstoy. The joy that Mahatma Gandhi had felt when he came across a letter from Leo Tolstoy addressed to, he had then said, this is a letter to a Hindu. That is the letter that Leo Tolstoy had addressed, in which, and this is a connection also to the Bhavan and its work, in which Tolstoy took the pains to distill the essential unity across faiths, and quoting, for example, from the Vedas, the Bible, and others, to make the essential point that all that exists is one. People only call this one by different names. And to be able to live this message on a daily basis is something that we have been able to be blessed. And the connection to the Bhavan is also that one of the first early publications of the Bhavan was the book by Sri Bhagwan Das, which is the book's title is also The Essential Unity of Faith. Making the proposition that it is not merely translation, but in some instances even transliteration across cultures to look at the most high and noble values that people such as Justice R.C. Lahoti have led their lives. With that, I once again offer my most sincere and heartfelt condolences to the entire family and I will say the extended family, including the legal profession, on the passing of Justice R.C. Lahoti.
On behalf of the Karnataka State Bar Council, Karnataka State Bar Council Law Academy, the members of the Karnataka State Bar Council, and the entire legal fraternity of Karnataka, I offer sincere thanks to the distinguished speaker, Justice K.K. Lahoti, Sri K.G. Raghavan, Senior Advocate, High Court of Karnataka, and Sri Shreyas Jayasima, Advocate, High Court of Karnataka, and all the members of the Karnataka State Bar Council, and the participants in today's Shrandanjali to Sri R.C. Lahoti. So, thank you very much.